Toastmaster welcome to Larry Zapansky and his speech, Pebbles on Your Path. Welcome, Larry.
Every day you and I awake to begin a new journey on our life's path. And every day on this path, we have and we will encounter pebbles. What are these pebbles? Why are they here? And what can we do with them? Contest chair, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. These pebbles represent your problems and your issues. They may be as small as not being able to find a pair of socks that match, or maybe as large as a significant loss. These pebbles also represent your bad habits, bad choices, and other situations you face. Why are they here? Your problems. These pebbles are on your path to help you learn, grow, and become the person you're going to become further down your path. Your problems, these pebbles, truly are your stepping stones to your future. What can you do with the pebbles? Basically, you have two options. You can ignore them, or you can deal with them. I have always been a slider. That's to say, whenever life would throw a problem at me, I would slide right by. I was too busy to sweat the small stuff. After all, there was a best-selling book written on that very topic. Recently, I realized that theory is flawed. My friends, if you don't sweat the small stuff becomes big stuff. If you don't deal with your pebbles, your problems, they will continue to show up on your path, each time growing in size, until you're forced to deal with them. I learned this lesson the hard way. I spent 25 years of my life working in the safety forces, police, fire, and security. My training early on taught me, when you make a decision, you make the decision based on training and instinct. You never, ever let emotion enter that equation. If you do, someone's likely to get injured. My training taught me how to turn off my emotion, but it never taught me how to turn it back on. I lived my life in an emotionless void. This training served me very well on the job, but not so well in my personal life. Who knew in order to have a healthy relationship, you had to have emotion? I found out the hard way because I suffered through more than my share of broken, failed relationships. And all of these relationships had one thing in common. It wasn't my fault. It was always their fault. I was convinced of that, and I was convinced of two other things. Number one, there's nothing wrong with me, other than maybe ego. And number two, my Mrs. Right didn't exist. However, in 2006, I met Mrs. Right. Her name is Bonnie, and she was perfect in every way. And Bonnie and I embarked on a storybook-like romance. It was amazing, except for one big problem. Me! Bonnie would come to me on a regular basis and say, Larry, you need to show me some emotion. Larry, when you make a decision, it's okay to be emotional. Larry, you need to be emotional. I would always end these discussions with, Bonnie, you don't understand. That's not me. This is your problem, not mine. You need to deal with it. After telling her for 5 years this was her problem, she finally dealt with it. She ended the relationship. I was devastated. Once again, another woman abandoned me. She left me, and I was convinced it was all her fault. Have you ever had an aha moment? That's a moment in time when something happens, and all of a sudden that illusion that you created disappears, and reality is left staring you in the face. My aha moment came 3 days after the breakup. One of our guilty little pleasures was ice cream. Bonnie and I used to love to either walk to the ice cream store, drive, or just sit on the couch and get a bowl of ice cream and enjoy it together. It became a ritual. 3 days after the breakup, I stopped at an ice cream store. got my cone and took a couple of licks. It didn't taste the same. It didn't feel good. And all of a sudden, I felt a wave of emotion run over my body, and I started to cry. I threw the ice cream out, went back to my car, and called Bonnie. I explained what happened, and Bonnie just laughed. But then she said, Larry, the same thing happened to me last night. And it was at that moment I received my aha. I knew this was the woman I was supposed to be with. We were so connected. And I also knew at that moment, with the emotions running through my body and being able to feel for the first time in like 27 years, I realized this wasn't her fault. It wasn't their fault. The whole time I created this illusion that they were at fault when it was me at fault. I started looking at my past and all my pebbles. I realized all of those pebbles, all of those problems I never dealt with had come back, and they created a mountain between Bonnie and I. Now you can't tell by this physique, but I am not a mountain climber. And I knew that mountain wasn't going to keep me from the woman I loved. So I started chipping away at that mountain, breaking it back down into pebbles, and started dealing with each and every one and learning what the pebble represented, what the problem was, and dealing with it. And after several months of reflecting and rebuilding, Bonnie and I started to talk again. We realized our love was much stronger than our problems. And I'm happy to report we're now engaged to be married. In the end, things worked out. However, had I dealt with my problems, my pebbles all along the path, we would have never had to go through this heartbreak. My friends, every day on your life's journey, you're going to have problems. You're going to encounter pebbles on your path. What are you going to do? The next time you have a problem, the next time you find a pebble on your path, I challenge you. Pick it up, embrace it, and allow that pebble to become a piece of your successful future.